Today we're going to be working on decimal division questions and applying them to word problems. As I read through this, I'm trying to decide between two things. In a division problem, we have our dividend and we have our divisor. So when we're reading through the question, I'm looking for things to help me decide between what could be the dividend, which is what we split up. Generally, this was referring to a total amount. The other value in a division problem is the divisor, and that's going to be the size of the groups that we're splitting them into. In this example, Louisa is making 4 2/10 cookies. She's selling them in groups of 3 5/10. How many packages can she sell? So as I'm reading through that, I'm thinking, which of these items am I splitting up? And so in this question, we would want to be splitting up the cookies. And it also outlines for you, we're selling them in groups. Okay, so that would be my divisor. And 4 2/10 would be my dividend. For these first couple of questions in this assignment, we're just going to write the equation. We don't need to solve. So we have 4 2/10 being divided by 3 5/10. In this example, again, we'll read through it and try to decide which is my dividend, which is my divisor, and then we'll go ahead and solve it. Okay, each batch of cookies uses 5/10 cups of sugar. You have 12 35/100. How many batches can you make? Okay, so again, I'm trying to decide if each of these numbers represents my dividend or my divisor. It's important to notice that sometimes that can come first in the problem or second. Okay, so as you read, it doesn't matter the order. We are going to use 0.5 cups in one batch, and we have 12 35/100. So this is representing the total amount that we have. So this would be my dividend. Okay. This is a common question that we'll see with division, where we want to know how many of one thing fit into the other. Okay, so we want to know how many of these we can make from this. When we're dividing, we can leave the first number alone if there's a decimal, but if there's a decimal in the second number, we need to remember to shift that and turn this into a whole number. Okay, so we have a decimal here in my divisor. So I move the decimal point over like this. And if I move it over like that in my divisor, I'm going to do the same thing here. Remembering, I'm only moving it the number of times I moved it here. So I still have a decimal, so this problem will end up being 123 5/10 divided by the whole number 5. Okay, this one we're going to go ahead, set up, and solve. So our dividend goes inside, we keep that decimal point, and we're going to go ahead and divide. When we have a decimal, it's really important that we're keeping our decimals place values lined up. So make sure as you're dividing you put in any 0 placeholders as needed. So for example here, when I tried to take 1 and divide it by 5, I can't do that, so I put in my 0 placeholder. Then I'm going to take 12 and divide it into groups of 5. That would be 2. 2 times 5 is 10. That gets subtracted. Bring down. And so now I'm going to start the process over again. Remember, we're following these 4 steps. Divide, multiply, subtract. Bring down. And 5 can go into 23, 4 total times. 5 times 4, that's our multiply step. Next would be subtraction. I have one more number to bring down. 5 can go into 35. 7 times, because 7 times 5 is 35. leaving me here with no remainder. When you're dividing with a decimal, if there's 1 here in the dividend, we're going to draw it right up. And as long as, again, you keep this lined up with 1 number on top of each, the decimal just gets carried up. And so our answer here is 24 7/10. And I'll include the label here. We're talking batches. In this lesson, it takes a lot of reading comprehension, so read carefully, underline, circle, whatever it's going to help you. Take your time and good luck.